Some haunted places feel like stories. These feel like warnings. In the heart of Texas, 3 locations don't just echo the past, they trap it. Real deaths, real screams, real places you can still visit. If you're drawn to the dark corners of true crime, subscribe. We go where others turn back. Case 1. Yorktown Memorial Hospital, where the sick were never alone. In the quiet town of Yorktown, Texas, just over an hour's drive from San Antonio, there stands a building that seems frozen in a time no one wants to remember. At first glance, the Yorktown Memorial Hospital looks like any other abandoned facility. Cracked, concrete, faded, red brick, shattered windows. But for those who step closer, it doesn't feel abandoned. Not really, because inside, something still lingers. The hospital was built in 1950 by the Felician Sisters, a Catholic order of nuns who believed in serving the sick and the dying with dignity. For decades, it operated as a full-scale medical center for the rural community. It had emergency rooms, a chapel surgical units, and even addiction rehabilitation programs. It was small but vital, and yet something about it never felt right. During its 30-plus years of operation, it's estimated that nearly 2,000 people died within those walls. For a hospital of that size, the number is staggering. Locals whispered about how patients seemed to deteriorate faster there. Some said the nurses were too strict. Others said the walls just absorbed suffering. When the hospital closed in 1986 due to failing inspections and infrastructure issues, it was quietly boarded up and left to rot. No demolition, no conversion, just left. And that's when the real stories began. For years, thrill seekers, ghost hunters, and investigators came from all over Texas to see if the rumors were true. Some stayed for an hour. Some couldn't make it past the lobby. Those who did reported the same thing. It never felt empty. The first thing they noticed was the air thick pressing. Like walking into a room where something terrible had just happened. Only no one was left to explain it. Some claimed the air in the chapel was the worst, as if the building knew what it had witnessed and was still trying to confess. Footsteps were common. Not the creaking of old boards, but precise, deliberate footsteps. Often behind you, sometimes in front of you, but never visible. In the pediatric wing, people have heard children crying. Some even claimed they heard lullabies sung in a voice that sounded wrong, not evil, just off, too slow, too empty. Visitors left toys in the hallway once as a test. By the next morning, the toys had moved. There was no sign of break-in, no draft, just toys now facing the opposite direction. The basement is perhaps the most feared part of the hospital. It housed the mechanical rooms and storage areas, but those who ventured there felt an immediate weight settle over their bodies. One man, a military veteran, reported feeling pinned to the floor by a presence he couldn't see. He left without saying a word, drove 5 hours back to Dallas, and never spoke of the place again. There's a hallway near the emergency ward where visitors report a recurring figure, a nun. Her face is never visible. She walks calmly as if still doing rounds, but if you follow her, she disappears either through a wall or around a corner that doesn't exist. Some believe she's a remnant of the Felician Sisters who worked there. Others believe she's something else entirely. In 2013, a paranormal investigation team visited Yorktown for a controlled overnight session. What they captured was disturbing. EVP recordings picked up. Voices, clear voices. One said, "Get out." Another whispered, almost in a childlike tone, said, "Don't let him find me." Motion sensors tripped in rooms that were sealed. Doors closed on camera. One team member was lightly scratched on his back. 3 marks, all parallel, bleeding through his shirt. They left before sunrise. A couple months later, a different group visited. This time, a man mocked the supposed spirits, calling them fake and shouting obscenities in the chapel. Minutes later, he fell face first onto the concrete floor, breaking 2 teeth and suffering a mild concussion. He claimed he had felt someone grab the back of his shirt and pull him backward. There were no other people within 30 feet. The owners of the property eventually stopped allowing casual visitors. Too many people left shaken, too many injuries. The building itself became more unstable over time, but they continued to allow official guided investigations, strictly controlled and only with permission. Even then, visitors are required to sign liability waivers. What makes Yorktown different from other haunted locations isn't just the number of reports, it's the consistency. The same sounds, the same locations, the same feelings of dread that visitors describe without ever having spoken to each other. Some believe it's residual energy tragedy echoing like a broken recording. Others believe something intelligent lives there, not human, not kind. There's one room that no one likes to talk about, the former surgery suite. It still contains the operating table, rusted, now stained. The overhead light flickers, though the building has no electricity. Cameras malfunction in that room. Batteries drain. One woman reported hearing her own name whispered twice, though she hadn't told anyone what it was. Another man claimed he saw the table move, not shake, slide. There are no confirmed deaths during surgery there, but according to some retired nurses, there were mistakes, the kind that were swept under the rug. People went under and never woke up, not always because of illness, sometimes because of panic. Overdose, malpractice. The building seems to remember. Outside, the grass has grown wild. The roof has begun to sag. The front door is chained shut. But if you walk the perimeter, some say you can still hear the intercom clicking on briefly like it used to. A faint ding, followed by nothing, just static. Others claim to have seen lights flickering inside from the road at night. The building has no power source, no working wiring. And yet, Yorktown Memorial Hospital no longer heals anyone, but it's not done with the living. Locals say the town grew quieter after it closed, but not safer. Some people believe the suffering didn't end when the doors shut. It simply shifted, spread out, and that the hospital still calls to the vulnerable. Those who are curious, those who are disrespectful, those who just want to feel something unnatural. If you find yourself near Yorktown, you can drive past but don't slow down. Because this hospital doesn't need patients anymore. It just needs someone to stay. Case 2. Bragg Road. The Ghost Road of Saratoga. Deep in the piney woods of East Texas, between the towns of Saratoga and Bragg, there runs a narrow stretch of dirt road. It's straight as a shot, lined on both sides with dense trees that muffle every sound but the crunch of your tires. To locals, it's simply Bragg Road. But to everyone else, it's known as something much more unsettling, the Ghost Road. For decades, people have claimed that something unnatural haunts this stretch of land. Not a house, not a building, just a road. One path in the woods where a mysterious light appears and follows you. Sometimes it's a flicker, like a distant lantern. Other times it grows brighter, as if someone or something is drawing closer, and then it disappears. No one knows exactly when the stories began. Some trace them back to the early 1900s when the road was still part of an abandoned railroad track used by loggers. Others believe the legends go back further into oral traditions, passed down by early settlers who claimed the land was wrong somehow. Not cursed, just off, like it wasn't meant to be walked on. What everyone agrees on is this: something happens there. And it's not just a trick of light. One of the earliest written accounts comes from the 1950s, when local teenagers began reporting a strange light that would appear late at night, always at a distance, always hovering above the road. When they tried to approach it, the light retreated. When they ran away, it followed. Police were called more than once. Officers patrolled the road expecting to find pranksters with flashlights or vehicles hiding in the woods. They found nothing. Later, paranormal investigators would bring cameras, sensors, infrared lenses. Many of them captured the same thing: a sudden orb of light, bluish-white, floating several feet off the ground, silent, unnatural. It would blink once, then vanish. Others described it as more of a glow than a source, like something ambient radiating emotion more than heat. Locals, of course, have their theories. Some say it's the lantern of a decapitated railroad worker eternally searching for his head. According to one version of the story, the man was checking tracks at night when a train hit him from behind. His body was buried, his head never found. Now the light is his soul swinging a lantern through the woods forever. Others whisper about Civil War soldiers who once camped in the area. One legend claims a Confederate soldier was executed there for desertion, shot in the back. The light is his shame, burning endlessly in the dark. But these are stories, the kind people tell to make sense of something senseless, and Bragg Road doesn't offer answers, only experiences. In 1992, a group of college students from nearby Beaumont drove to the Ghost Road on a dare. There were 5 of them. They parked their truck in the middle of the road just after midnight, turned off the engine, and waited. For a while, nothing happened. They joked, laughed, took photos, and then they saw it, a glowing white orb about 50 yards down the road, bobbing slightly like it was hanging from a hand that wasn't there. They thought it was a trick, a reflection, but the light began to move, not side to side, straight at them. The group panicked. One of them started the truck, another began to cry as they reversed in a hurry. One of them, Rachel, turned back for one last look. She later said, "It was close. Closer than it should have been, and it wasn't just light. It had shape like a head without a face." They never returned. In 2003, a man named Leonard B. was hiking near the road during the day when he heard voices, not speech, just murmurs, like a crowd gathered deep in the woods. He followed the sound for nearly 15 minutes, deeper and deeper, until he realized the sun was lower than it should be. He tried to turn back, but the woods didn't look familiar anymore. The trees had shifted, or he had. He eventually found his way back to the road. When he checked his watch, 3 hours had passed. He had no memory of them. None. Some believe Bragg Road messes with time, that the light is just a symptom, not the cause. They say the land itself remembers something violent, something unfinished. One of the most disturbing encounters happened in 2017. A couple was driving the road just before dusk when they spotted something standing in the tree line. Not a person, not an animal, just tall, pale, still. They stopped the car. The figure didn't move. The man got out, took a few steps forward, and the figure disappeared into the woods without a sound. But when he got back into the car, something had changed. The woman who had been recording on her phone replayed the footage, and in one frame, as the figure retreated, there was something else, a handprint on the passenger side window. They hadn't noticed it before. It was small, smudged, childlike, but neither of them had touched that window from the outside. They drove straight home. Skeptics have tried to explain the Ghost Road light. Some say it's swamp gas, though the area lacks the kind of marshland that would produce it. Others blame headlight reflections from nearby highways, but there are no clear lines of sight, and the light has been seen long before car traffic existed in that region. Weather balloons, flashlights, optical illusions, all of these have been tested. None hold up. The light appears on windless nights, on cloudy days, in total silence. Bragg Road has since become something of a pilgrimage site for thrill seekers. There are signs marking it now. Ghost Road, Scenic Drive, as if that makes it less ominous. Families drive through during the day, teenagers sneak in at night. But the truth is, very few people make it from one end to the other after sunset. Some say it's harmless, just an unexplained light. But others say that if you stop in the middle of the road and turn off your engine, you might see more than a glow. You might hear breathing. You might hear someone whisper your name. You might feel watched. And if you see the light, don't follow it. Don't approach, because not everything on that road wants to be found. And not everyone who walks it walks out. The same case 3, Goatman's Bridge, where screams still echo. At the edge of Denton, Texas, hidden between twisting country roads and thick woods, stands a bridge most people avoid after dark. Officially, it's called Old Alton Bridge, a rusty iron truss structure built in 1884 that once connected travelers and traders across Hickory Creek. But to locals, and to those who've heard the stories, it's known by another name, Goatman's Bridge. Even in daylight, the bridge carries a weight, rusted beams, cracked wooden planks, and silence thick enough to make your ears ring. The trees press in close, the water below slow and dark. But when the sun disappears, something else settles in. Something watching. Something waiting. The legend starts over a century ago with a man named Oscar Washburn, a black goat farmer who lived near the bridge in the 1930s. He was known to be kind, successful, and unusually proud. Locals called him the Goatman because of the sign he hung on his fence. This way to the Goatman. But success didn't sit well with everyone. One night, a group of men, Klansmen, according to most versions of the story, stormed his home, dragged him from his bed, and hauled him to the bridge. They tied a noose around his neck, threw him over the side, and when they looked down, he was gone. The rope hung empty. Panicked, they searched the creek. No body. No trace. Days passed. Then weeks. But the Goatman was never found. Some say he survived and disappeared into the woods. Others believe he died. But something else came back in his place. And that's when the sightings began. Figures in the woods. Glowing red eyes peering from under the bridge, screams echoing across the water with no clear source. People claimed to hear hoofbeats on the planks when no one was there. Some even saw a creature, half man, half goat, standing at the edge of the forest before vanishing into the shadows. But those were just stories, until people started disappearing. In the 1960s, a local teenager went missing after visiting the bridge at night. His car was found parked nearby, doors unlocked, headlights still on. A few days later, his body was discovered downstream. No visible injuries, no water in his lungs. Cause of death, unknown. In the 1980s, a couple claimed their child was nearly pulled over the railing by something they couldn't see. They said they felt hands on their backs. The child screamed, "He's coming out of the water," though no one else saw anything. The family moved away the following month. To this day, visitors report strange phenomena. Phones die without warning. Flashlights flicker or explode. Some hear heavy breathing behind them only to turn and find nothing. Others walk the bridge alone and swear they were followed the entire way, though their footprints are the only ones in the dust. In 2003, a group of amateur ghost hunters filmed themselves walking the bridge at 2:00 a.m. The footage was mostly uneventful until they played it back. Around the 14-minute mark, a low guttural growl can be heard. None of them had noticed it during the night. One frame, just one, shows something in the trees. 2 points of light too high to be eyes glowing red. That clip has since disappeared from the internet. The group never released the full video. One member refuses to talk about it. Another moved out of state. The rest simply say, "We saw something. We wish we hadn't." The Goatman legend has evolved over time. Some say the creature is a demon, summoned by satanic rituals said to have taken place near the bridge in the 1970s. Others think it's the restless spirit of Oscar Washburn himself, forever seeking vengeance against those who wronged him. A few believe it's both a man who died with rage in his heart, consumed by something darker than death. Regardless of its origin, the experiences continue. In 2017, a woman named Lisa drove out to the bridge alone just after midnight, hoping to disprove the legends. She parked her car at the far end and walked the length of the bridge with a flashlight. Nothing happened. No sounds, no movement. But when she got back to her car, she found 3 long scratches across the driver's side door, deep, clean parallel. She had no keys in her hand, no brush with the trees, and no animals in sight. Her dash cam, which had been recording the whole time, froze for exactly 3 minutes, starting the moment she stepped onto the bridge. She doesn't go out at night anymore. And then there's the scream. People say if you stand in the middle of the bridge around 3 a.m. and remain completely silent, you may hear it, a single piercing scream that comes from under the bridge, deep, watery, and full of pain. Some say it's a woman. Others hear a child, but those who've heard it all agree. It doesn't sound human. There are no houses nearby, no animals that could make such a noise, and when people try to record it, the audio always cuts out. Skeptics argue that the legend is just folklore, nothing more than the brain's way of processing fear in an isolated place. But even they admit there's something wrong about that bridge. Too many devices fail. Too many people leave in silence, pale and shaken. And too many who return report the same thing: they can't sleep for days. They hear knocking on their windows. They dream of the creek. They dream of a figure walking slowly down the middle of the bridge. One man described it perfectly. He said, "It doesn't feel like you're being haunted. It feels like you've been noticed." Today, Goatman's bridge is fenced off on one side, but people still find ways in. They walk the planks. They whisper in the dark. Some even bring offerings, candles, goat bones, personal trinkets, hoping to bargain with something they don't understand. But no one ever gets answers. Just reactions. The Goatman doesn't speak. He doesn't ask. He watches. He waits. And if you stay long enough, you might hear your name echo back to you, not from the forest, but from beneath your feet. Texas holds its ghosts close, and some places never let go. If these stories stayed with you, subscribe. There's more waiting down the road.